We are multidimensional. Did you know that you are much more than what you appear to be? We are conditioned from birth to think we are the body. If someday we enter a spiritual quest, we often spend the rest of our lives trying to undo the confusion. If you've ever asked yourself the question, who am I? Congratulations! Something in you might already be in recognition that everything we've been told or thought in answer to that question, who am I, can never satisfy. We are much more than we think. Consider a system for self-exploration that is about involution as much as an evolution. It's about letting the capital S self take care of the little self, so our whole life becomes the answer to life's biggest question. We can let go of the struggle. Through breath, we open to that greater mystery, the force of life within us. We make ourselves fully available to it. We make ourselves as empty a vessel as possible and become a channel, not to external voices, but to our own soul. In order for the capital S self to take care of the little self, we have to first recognize that we are indeed the capital S self. It isn't some separate entity out of reach. It is here, now. The little self is merely a construct, a representation of that greater being. In fact, the utility of that greater being. But it isn't something to destroy in some misunderstood spiritual pursuit, such as kill the ego. Instead, it is to be aligned and integrated with that higher self, so that we can be becoming fully functioning adults and beacons of sanity. In other words, it's a process. The practices by which we invite this shift include breath work, deeply restorative healing movement, and other forms of energy work, and meditative practices that involve the mirror as well as voice work and other creative arts. We open the channels of communication with all the dimensions of ourselves, as expressed by 5-body, 7-body, and 10-body theories. While each system has its uses and points our attention to different aspects of self, I prefer a fusion model, which tends to move from the densest to the finest vibratory body. I'll break these down from my perspective. By getting to know the layers of our being, we are able to better map where we might experience blockages of energy or be cut off from that capital S self. As such, knowing the dimensions of our being is extremely helpful on the healing path. Physical body. This one's obvious. It is what is traditionally referred to as the body, including all of its systems and parts, the organs, the bones, the tissues, the limbs, the extremities, and nerves. We are born with what seems to be one and the same body, and yet from year to year, it is always changing until that eventual and inevitable moment in which we must leave it behind. Surprisingly, very few people are actually in their bodies now. There is such a learned disconnect for reasons of survival from a young age and our inability to process other layers of our being that can totally stunt our relationship with our physical selves. This can manifest as disease of every kind. That is why somatic movement, slow and mindful, is so important to our well-being. Pranic body, life force. This is the bioelectrical energy field of all life fueled by the breath. If you've ever wondered whether or not you were meant to be here, hold your breath. You'll get your answer soon enough. How we breathe is an indicator of physical health. If we breathe primarily up in the chest, we are creating a nervous tension in the body. If we can drop our breath into the belly, we become more relaxed and soothed by our own internal rhythm. That, of course, is assuming that we're not efforting to breathe in a certain fashion, but rather following a natural breath. One could also see this field of the pranic body as the physical healing field, as when we cut our finger accidentally, we notice that over a period of days, the cut has healed. This is the wonder of the pranic force of life. The emotional body. Joy, sadness, frustration, resentment, rage, contentment. These are common emotions that arise in our emotional body. We tend to get a little addicted to our favorite emotional states, even the less comfortable ones. Emotions are energetic symbols alerting us to imbalance, which is why if we ignore or suppress them, we do so at our peril. You might ask, how can joy indicate imbalance? For one thing, joy can leave us ungrounded and floaty. For another, because we tend to want to hold on to higher states, imbalance arises out of our clinging and our preference. But all emotions are meant to flow, to come and go. This isn't to discount experiences of true nature that can be incredibly tranquil, but that tranquility is true nature and not a fleeting emotion. Whether or not we can maintain consciousness there is another matter, however. While we need to absolutely be aware of all of our feelings, if any of them become sticky, even the good ones, we're setting ourselves up for suffering. Like the breath, the emotional body is meant to be ever in flux and responsive to life. The mental body. The mental body deals with all of our thinking, as well as the memes and the conditioning of the mind. If you can think it, put it in this category. Even the words you are hearing now are aspects of the mental body, which gives every word its meaning. It is often said that where the mind goes, energy flows. So how we think has a direct impact on our experience of reality. The mental body should not be confused with the mind, however. Mind is clear, luminous space, like a crystal. The mental body manifests within the space of mind. The auric body. This is the energy field of the body that radiates beyond our physical boundaries. It is associated with the chakra system, and it has within itself several different layers. There are those who are adept at seeing these layers and the various signs of disease or weakness that might be displayed through holes, tears, punctures, colors, and textures. Our thoughts and emotions can be displayed through our auric field. The wisdom or intuitive body. Did you know you have access to cosmic wisdom? Through this body, we are able to receive intuitive guidance and impulse. Here we have access to the Akashic records and an intelligence greater than the individual human mind. This is the field in which the muses operate, inspiring invention and all manner of artists. It is the field in which all problems can be solved because it is a refined consciousness in which the problems don't even exist. It is a world of potentials, but potentials inspired by spirit rather than ego. The radiant body. The radiant body exists just beyond the auric field. It reaches out to the world. It is our magnetism. It can open us up to and attract opportunities, as well as be used to protect us from unwanted energies and manifestations. Similar to the aura, the radiant body is often represented in religious iconography as the halo. The bliss or celestial body. This body is commonly accessed by storming it with psychotropics, but it is best earned through meditation and devotion. It is our connection to the orgasmic cosmos, expanding and collapsing in ever unfolding rapturous wonder. The ecstatics, saints that regularly fell into or even lived most of their lives in an ecstasy, are examples of beings deeply connected to this level of being. However, it tends not to be a very practical existence. The soul. This can be referred to as the higher self. It is the you of your highest potentials that guides your path as a being here on earth. You can think of it as a God-designed blueprint if you wish. We lose sight of our soul body at our karmic peril, but regardless of whether or not we allow it to inform us, it is always trying to do so. The Absolute. The Absolute remains unavailable to description and definition. It even lies outside of our ability to experience it, and yet we are it. It's a paradox that only the great mystery could concoct. The most important thing to understand is that while we look at these separately in order to see them more clearly and work with them intentionally, they comprise a single being, the entirety of you. You aren't missing any of these layers, though you may be unaware of them. They may require a bit of attention and buffing up before we can fully integrate each into the other. I invite you to open up communications with these fields of your being, making it possible to bring all levels of yourself into greater harmony and alignment. Thanks for listening. For more content like this, and to listen to a meditation based on this teaching, follow me on Insight Timer. Links in the description.